This is Plant-Based Briefing, Smart Parents' Guide to Why Kids Should Not Have Dairy Products by Eric C. Lindstrom at nutritionstudies.org. And I'm Marian Erickson, host of this curated content plant-based podcast, where I narrate a variety of articles on plant-based health and nutrition, vegan living, the many, many reasons to live a vegan lifestyle. I narrate these articles with permission in about 10 minutes or less every weekday, and I'm pleased to have permission from the Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies to share their content. So now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. Smart Parents' Guide to Why Kids Should Not Have Dairy Products by Eric C. Lindstrom at nutritionstudies.org. The following is an excerpt from the Smart Parents' Guide to Raising Vegan Kids by vegan blogger and former meat eater Eric C. Lindstrom. Milk is not easy to quit. From a glass of cold milk and thick Greek yogurt to creamy ice cream and melty cheese, so many favorite foods are made from milk or contain milk. However, that being said, it is the single most important animal byproduct to eliminate from your family's diet. Two of the foremost authorities on the dangers of milk in a person's diet today are Drs. Colin Campbell and Thomas M. Campbell, co-authors of the best-selling book The China Study, who've written volumes on the health dangers of milk. Colin Campbell once told me personally that he thinks milk is more important to remove from your diet than even meat for health reasons. Still remove meat. We've been fed the myth that humans need milk for calcium, even while clinical research shows that calcium in dairy products have little or no benefit for bones. People often drink milk in order to obtain vitamin D in their diets, unaware that they can receive vitamin D through other sources, including a 10-minute walk outside during daylight. Actually, few foods naturally contain vitamin D, and no dairy products naturally contain this vitamin. Fortified cereals, grains, bread, orange juice, and soy or rice milk are excellent options for providing vitamin D through diet, as are mushrooms, which also happen to be my favorite pizza topping. Amazingly, consumption of dairy products has also been linked to higher risk for various cancers, especially cancers of the reproductive system, prostate, ovarian, and breast cancers. In fact, Dr. Colin Campbell calls casein, the animal protein found only in milk, the #1 fuel for the cancer fire. And what about pesticides? Polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, and dioxins are examples of contaminants found in milk. According to Dr. Campbell, dairy products contribute about 1/4 to 1/2 of our dietary intake of total dioxins, and these toxins do not readily leave the body and can eventually build to harmful levels that may affect the immune, reproductive, and central nervous systems. Moreover, these PCBs and dioxins have also been linked to cancer. Milk proteins, milk sugar, fat, and saturated fat in dairy products pose health risks and encourage the development of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease in children. So why are parents so set on introducing dairy to their bright-eyed, freshly weaned infants? When preparing to write this book, I went straight to Dr. Tom Campbell, who happens to be a friend of mine and the father of a vegan toddler and a newborn. How bad is milk for humans, I asked, and how are you sure your kids are getting enough nutrition without it? Pediatricians have been taught that dairy is essential, Campbell said. It's in all the standard pediatrics histories that we learn to go over with parents. Oftentimes, the standard American kid diet is loaded with cheese, lots and lots of cheese several times a day, with snacks of yogurt and milk over sugar cereal. In this case, dairy would be a great target #1 to eliminate. Whole food plant-based diets are richer in most, but not all nutrients. Having looked at this question in detail, I feel confident about this. We supplement our older kid, who is weaned, with B12 and vitamin D, and occasionally iodine. We don't eat many sea vegetables, which are rich in iodine. Our newborn is exclusively breastfed, and my wife supplements with B12 and D and occasionally some iodine. Apart from the number-crunching aspect of having looked at the nutrient content of a well-planned plant-based diet, we also know that our kids are growing and developing well, which is reassuring. In general, this is the way most physicians assess whether a kid is getting enough calories and nutrients in general, growth and development. Years ago, I had a friend whose physical therapist told her to cut out dairy as it was possibly the cause of her back pain. Back then, during my omnivorous days, I refused to believe that milk could be bad for your bones, and that I would ever take something like milk away from my kid. I was one of the millions of people who have been lied to about the health benefits of dairy. Years later, as a vegan, I actually met her physical therapist. I retold this story to her and found out that my friend's back pain has since completely gone away since giving up dairy. A recent study published in the British Medical Journal examined milk intake and its relationship to risk of bone fractures, death from any cause, and death from cardiovascular disease and cancer in a large group of Swedish men and women. Contrary to what you might expect, among middle-aged and older women, each additional glass of milk consumed daily was associated with a 9% increased risk of hip fracture and a 15% increased risk of death from any cause. Adding an extra glass of milk was also associated with a 15% increased risk of death from heart disease. This is why your own grandmother or grandfather has fallen and can't get up. Since they were a little child, they were told that milk was helping with their bone density, when in fact, the opposite was taking place. You just listened to Smart Parents' Guide to Why Kids Should Not Have Dairy Products by Eric C. Lindstrom at nutritionstudies.org. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson. I've done about a gazillion episodes on the health risks with dairy. Use the search field wherever you listen, or go to plantbasedbriefing.com episodes and use that search field there and put the term dairy in, and so many will come up. But some you might want to look for specifically include number 6, milk, the top 10 scariest things. 53, how dairy affects children's health. 71, 6 reasons to detox from dairy today. 120, 8 things you didn't know about dairy. 153, dairy and increased risk of MS. 202, dairy linked to acne, diabetes, and cancer. 306, why milk is bad for you, 9 reasons you should avoid dairy. 340, milk and osteoporosis, the calcium myth. 385, study reveals shocking results, cow's milk ranks as the #1 cause of fatal anaphylaxis. 632, sources of vitamin D, everything you need to know. 769, why do milk drinkers live shorter lives on average? 800, can going dairy-free help with blood sugar control? 823, how to get calcium without dairy? 853, dairy milk hormones effects on cancer? 892, dairy's effects on dental health. 967, alleviating asthma. And 1020, dairy, the ultra-processed food hiding in plain sight. There are many others. I've got to stop here because it's a ridiculously long list right here. So please feel free to check those out, and please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.